This presentation was recorded during a collaboration between Mediation Institute and the social enterprise not-for-profit Interact Support Incorporated. Mediation Institute is a specialist provider of dispute resolution training and membership support throughout Australia, using technology to make high-quality training more accessible. Interact Support is dedicated to preventing violence and abuse by providing dispute resolution services with a special focus on reaching out to those who fall through the gaps of existing services. The ICDRS, Interact Community Dispute Resolution Service, is one of the two major projects that Interact Support runs. The other is Interact Online, which is an online family dispute resolution service. Matt Lockwood is a passionate dispute resolution professional and peacemaker who has become a leader of the ICDRS project. He's going to be sharing some of his story.
Our corporate sponsor and government institute is the Mediation Institute. So we have great links to Mediation Institute. I was lucky enough to train with Mediation Institute, so we have access to the coaches and a lot of resources. It's been really good. You want to hear about mediation and mediation hours? I can see there's a number of people have said that, and I was exactly the same. So what I did was I qualified as a mediator. I'm not a family law. I'm just an NMAS or an ANJOS mediator. And then I went, okay, how do I go about mediating? And I went on quite a journey, and the avenue where you start a website, you put out a business card, you go to networking events, that's all good and that's all valid. But I found it a lot trickier than I thought it might have been. I know that there's everybody in conflict everywhere I turn, Big Four else having conflict, but to get two people as paying clients through a pre-mediation and then to actually mediation and then to pay was a bit of a challenge. So at the time, Joanne had a grant application and was looking at community mediation. And what we had in common here and what we do at ICDRS was we all know that in our community, conflict ruins people, it ruins families, it ruins lives. It's domestic violence, it's all sorts of things. And there's a barrier to good quality dispute resolution. So there's so many stories anecdotally, and this audience here, I think, it's an amazing experience in this audience. And you all know the stories of perhaps what we like to think are avoidable situations where if these people had access to quality dispute resolution, that would help. Joanne's always had that idea and we brought it to life. That was probably 2.5 years ago. And we said we're in the business of mediation, number one. The second thing we worked out pretty quickly was that even for us, it was hard to get mediation through the front door. So we offer a low cost model. We also had a pro bono type model. We didn't have the pro bono back then, but we certainly had a hardship fund. And we started out with mediation. We quickly learned that there's such a need in the community for not only mediation, but also for simple training. And our skills as mediators are far and beyond hours in the chair in front mediating people. So I also learned that I was spending a lot of time with people in conflict, but not really converting them into mediation as such. And then I realized, okay, through my work with ICDRS, I've realized there's a lot of skill set there. So we got a government grant to do some conflict first aid training in community organisations, which was really rewarding. You're helping people on the front line resolve their conflict. At the same time, you represent a not-for-profit organisation, so you get a great relationship with the people's credit to another Rachel managed to get amazing relationships with her local councils and communities because she was able to offer these workshops. So the model is you go in, you get exposure through the training, and then that leads to conflict leads. So it's either that be mediation itself, or it might just be conflict coaching, things like that. So the ICDRS business model was pretty much born around that. It was we offer mediation and then we do community first aid training. And then the third thing with ICDRS was the benefit of we meet every fortnight was also this benefit of learning, and I can't find the right word, but it's really fellowship and friendship. I spent a couple of years, I don't know, a long time at ICDRS now. But what I did was I said, okay, well, I can't get the mediation hours straight away. I will work in the business of mediation. So with ICDRS, what that meant was I was able to roll the sleeves up. I'm a project manager and a business analyst, and I've got lots of business admin experience. So I just went into ICDRS. Okay, what are we trying to do? We're trying to build a process, a business process, pre-mediation forms. There's contracts. We've now got amazing software that integrates everything, but we didn't have that 2 years ago. We had some Excel spreadsheets and some Word docs and things like that. But I learned about the business of mediation. So when I was talking to my colleagues and friends, oh, okay, you're a mediator now. And I still maintain the same day job as well at the moment. But I said, yeah, I'm a mediator. Oh, are you mediating? And I'd say, I'm in the business of mediation. I'm volunteering with a community dispute resolution. So that was really good for me. I learned so much. Through ICDRS, we've got the pre-mediation process, which was never really addressed in the training. There was coaching and mentoring. And I was also, what else? We've done some pretty cool stuff, Joanne. We got an MOU with Surf Lifesaving Queensland. So we were the preferred dispute provider for all of Surf Lifesaving Queensland. That meant we got exposure to some big group mediation. It also meant that we were a little phone number for phone and mediator and things like that. So I was able to see how, like working with really experienced people in the business, see how they set that up. Okay, yeah, we'll join the calls. Call for help. We need someone to do this. Up goes a Canva, and there you go. You've got a proposal, and the next thing you scramble it, and you're in business. So, the co-mediation there, the art of talking to the leads as well. One thing that I did learn was it can take a lot to get party A and party B to the table, and understanding that's okay. So when I was starting out in my own business and getting those leads that wouldn't come back, I'm like, oh, okay, this is how it works. Sometimes people need a little bit there. And we're talking about community mediation. So we've always had an aim for people who are socially, financially, culturally, language. We're looking for people with barriers. So we have a lot of experience where people's phone credit reads out or doesn't do that, or there's a history of substance abuse. There was one there, the parents and the son wanted to reconcile, and it was a beautiful warm referral from that person's counsellor. But we could better get to the parents. So there was a lot of learning. So with my volunteering, and then of course we did do government grants and all that sort of stuff. So what I did was I said, okay, I'll commit half a day a week. Well, it was a lot more than that actually, but I'd say at a minimum you need half a day a week. And I would just work in business and mediation. So I'd go on to Interact ICDRS, and for half a day, I'd be like, we need to fix this volunteer agreement. We need to fix this operating procedure. I need to fix the Excel list of potential contacts. I need to make a few calls to a few councils and things like that. So that's what I did. Now, along the way, then I got an amazing opportunity. We've had other volunteers as well who similarly were able to do that. The thing with ICDRS that I really liked was co-mediation model. Now, we're not so resolute with co-mediation, but being able to mediate with an experienced mediator was awesome. So we have other volunteers that have done their first mediation with ICDRS. So when you do your first one, it's so lovely to see the reflections there. So co-mediation is a model by itself. Not everybody does it, but with gender imbalance, with all sorts of reasons. So I still to this day love co-mediation. So that was another thing that was unique about ICDRS. I did a wonderful mediation with Craig, one of our mediators, where we drove to regional Victoria. That was a religious institution, and that was an incredible experience. And so there are mediation opportunities, and we think that with ICDRS into the new year, we've now got software and we've got all sorts of leads ready to go as well. So we hope that we get a lot of mediation hours. But the core issue, and I'll just go away a little bit from ICDRS and tell you what I'll do now this year. The core issue is getting the hours in mediation. So I do volunteering now. This year, I started with the courts, the magistrates' courts in South Australia. So many different opportunities are out there, all of which I've come across through ICDRS. So the people that I speak to once a fortnight, all over Australia, everybody's looking for whether it be business opportunities or mediation opportunities. There's state government panels out there. There are not-for-profits, and I really wanted to do more mediation than I could get from ICDRS, even though I'm more than happy to keep working with ICDRS. So I started approaching the not-for-profits. So in South Australia here, there was Uniting Communities, there's Relationships Australia, and all these other places that do that. And I'd be ringing up just saying, hey, I'll work for free. Can I come in tomorrow? And it's not always that easy because they're big institutions, right? So you've got to go through their volunteer training program. You've got to go through head office, get inducted. I couldn't believe how trippy it was. Anyway, of all these leads, I've ended up with the Magistrates Court. So what I do now is help people get on with their lives. And it's just incredible. People are fascinating to me, but I am more than happy to give my time. People say, how can you go in and do a mediation for 3 or 4 hours and not be paid? Well, I just get great joy from seeing two parties that have been, in that horrible scenario and they're never going to move forward. The court system's not going to work for them because they're not going to pay the lawyers. It's not going to get the outcome they need. So I just think when you're looking for volunteering opportunities, it's very easy to, give up here or there, but I would say persevere and keep going. And so what I was able to do when I was volunteering, I think when I got my first couple of years in, because I was with ICDRS, now I wasn't getting other people the opportunity to mediate, and we didn't have the volumes of mediations, but I was still in the mediation business. So that gave me the confidence to go. I drove 4 hours out to a farm and did a caravan thing on my own. And then it also got me my mediation hours through workplace. So wherever you work at the moment, your existing contacts and networks are really powerful for the mediation, but it's really hard for them to say, oh, it's Matt here. I've got a day job. I work here 3 days a week. I'm a mediator as well. But because I was with ICDRS, I put my little logo and we encourage that. So you get your ICDRS logo, it's alongside mine. And then one day it was like, you're a mediator, Matt, can you sort this out? You've got a week. And that was fun. I love to talk and I can talk all day, but that was really the purpose of tonight, was just to explain a little bit about how I've used volunteering. So right now, today and now, I still maintain my day job. I'm a counsellor as well. So it's like I've got 3 jobs, maybe 4. But the volunteering is still an active part because it allows me to very quickly and easy get lots and lots of mediations. And I'm not tiring of it one bit and enjoy it. And even if I'm not mediating, I still love being involved with ICDRS because the other things I need to do to build my own business are things like there's the top 10 conflict tips and things like most mediators have. Well, I don't have that ready to go. I don't even have my website. I'm still, when Lisa, just to concede Lisa on the screen there, Lisa's I'm building my website and I'm like, I'm hopeless at that. I've still got word of mouth on a bit of a LinkedIn. So I still love spending time with ICDRS because I can say, I haven't done my top 10 conflict tips yet. We've got our first aid. Is anyone out there? Let's hang out on there for a couple of hours, get a top 10. We put the ICDRS badge on it, and then we'll just go and deliver it to social workers or anywhere. And we meet once a fortnight, and we're pretty much open to any proposals. Once you've signed up as a volunteer, which costs nothing, it's just basically just due diligence and you've got confidentiality and things like that. It's just a nice place to meet people. So I still love being involved with ICDRS because I get to meet people. I've got an instant network. I can go, oh man, this is heavy. Who can I call that's in Brisbane that might be experienced with a type of community? Or I had one with the Vietnamese community recently. So there's all those things. And we just get the most amazing people just drop in and they say hello. Sometimes people are with us for a few weeks and sometimes people are with us for a lot longer at the moment. So we're really building at the moment to launch. And I think that's about it, really. So I'm very big on volunteering. We're all hippies. We love to help others and I'm not, but at the same time, I have got a business that I'm building at the same time. So my business model says I keep doing this mediation because the more I do, the more I'm involved in it, the more confident I get. And the more people will come and knock on my door. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks. Does anyone have any questions or comments about what Matt's been sharing? That makes sense. At the moment, we're just poised to do a campaign out. You may or may not be aware that there's been a real dismantling by the government in various states of the community dispute resolution services. It's really disappointing and hard to understand why, because there's really good data about how effective they are and the return on investment and value.
Nobody wanted to go to magistrates court. So when you're talking about legislation about fences, when all of a sudden you say to them they've got 50% ownership of that fence, they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, what can we do to fix this? Because I don't really want to pay $2,000 to go to court, or I don't really want to pay. And you'd mediate out the terms and conditions of the fence. Because it's never, ever 50-50, 9 times out of 10 as well. You've got one neighbour wanting the colour bond fence, you've got the other neighbour wanting the timber fence. So there's all those little intricacies that come into it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And when you were talking, I flashed up a picture of the...
I did see that. It confused me. I'm like, what's happening? Rala.
I think went to your service and then she ended up with us, and really lovely older lady who was worried about the vine getting into her electricals and it was going to make a fire, and the neighbour wouldn't talk to her, and yeah, they've talked and they're going to trim the vine. They're not things that should be in a court.
And it was resolved in pre-mediation, so it didn't even go to mediation.
Yeah, it didn't even need to go further.
Most disputes happen like that. Most disputes happen. But for me, for the majority that I've worked with in the dispute settlement centre, you give people clear guidance from the get-go and what we can and what we can't do, and give them that really big platform straight up when you're doing their intake. Like, intake is such, like, I've learned through dispute settlement centre, intake for me is so important. And you might only do point form intake. You don't need a marathon of a story, but you hit those core points that those people are wanting to discuss, and then that turns into a formal mediation agreement down the track 9 times out of 10. Doesn't deviate off that, because you're giving those people the opportunity to give you a real clarity on what they're going through without the pressure of the other person being there. So for me, intake is amazing. And yeah, a lot of it does get settled, because you'll say to the intake, the applicant, so to speak, and you say, what do you want? How do you want to resolve this? And they'll just tell you what they want. You're like, okay, you're happy for me to just close that to the other side and get their point of view and see how we can move from there. Move on to that, and all of a sudden the other side's going, oh, is that it? Oh, they just want black. They don't want blue. All right, well, I really wanted blue. No, let's go black. It could be something as simple as that. And you go, all right, well, let's write it up. And we can get an agreement right now if you like, or we can go toing and throwing until we get it completely right. And 9 times out of 10, it's a really quick settlement. And again, it's just giving them that platform to speak like I am carrying on now. So I'll shut up. But yeah, that's just the way.
So, Joanne, I have a quick question. Is the CJC, are they out now altogether, the mediation in New South Wales, or are they still doing anything?
Look, the government's indicated they're going to repeal the legislation, established it back in the 1980s on the 30th of June. So there's petitions for New South Wales residents. If you go to, I've shared it, and the Amber's board's shared it. So there doesn't seem to be any interest at all from the government in reversing their decision now.
I think, Joe, we have great interest in it with ICDRS, because next Friday, not this Friday, the next Friday, let's talk, because there's a huge need and we're ready to go. There's a gap, isn't there? But probably what's there. And that's what we're interested in doing. And it helps, right? New mediators, great hours, we think in the book of feeders of it. So even though that is what it is, I don't feel I need to restate it. We're all agreeing and nodding our heads on the benefits of mediation and how you close those things. But also, it's what we started out with, Joe, wasn't it? It was like, there's a massive need in our community.
Is it worth, sorry, I jumped in. Is it worth, or have you talked to the community justice centres to see if that's a service? Because I'm a civil solicitor, not a family law solicitor. And like Matt, I'm interested in the civil sort of mediation. And I volunteered with the community justice centres. And there's always such a huge need for legal advice and the usual bread and butter is the neighbourhood disputes and the ones that you want to keep out of court. So is that another platform that can be explored, or is it?
Yeah, very much. We're in the process of an outreach to local government, community justice centres, community legal services, and so on, because, people are coming to them and their referral sources are drying out. Yeah.
I even tried, the thing about ICDRS, Joe, too, is that we are not for profit and pro bono, and that was really important for those types of places, because with the council, like I was even trying the council, because I'm like, well, everyone goes there for their fence disputes.
Yeah.
And even offering myself but they didn't want to talk. They're not so interested if you're a private practice business. we've got over 2.5 years now, just being in existence. So even just getting a small grant and being around. So we like to think, we like to think that we're well positioned for those types of things.
Do you have presence? Sorry, Matt, I should have looked up ICDRS. I haven't. I will now. But do you have presence in Sydney, in New South Wales? Is that something that we could join in local governments?
Team members nationally. We don't have any physical presence like mediation.
Yeah.
But yeah, and look, part of the reason that we're running this event as well is to let people know that we need more volunteers to support us to get some of this information out. We've got the infrastructure, we've got the processes and procedures, and we know that there's plenty of mediators available. Oh, thank you. Rena, who's I think had to go, she's one of our initial contact people, so she'll call people back. I get a lot of inquiries through Mediation Institute if they're a community type person and they're unlikely to pay anyone for mediation. Straight to there. If they're likely to pay, then to our panel of mediators. I guess we're doing a little bit of a triage.
Yeah. Sounds exciting. At least get my hours in.
Yeah. That's important. Under the AMDRAS, it's now the minimum. If you're busy on other things, it's down to 20 hours, and 5 of those can be observing a more experienced practitioner or co-mediating, and 5 can be intakes, engaging in that triage. Early intakes a really helpful thing as well.
Joanne, it's Kelly. Sorry, I was on the phone before, so I could hear you, but you couldn't hear me. But the comment about the Community Justice Centre in New South Wales, the government is shutting all community justice on the 30th of June 2025, so they won't be available in New South Wales anymore.
No, yeah, which means there's a big void there because the data that's come out is in the campaign. They do a lot of inquiries. So yeah, that's something that we're wanting to try and gear up to. I really don't want to use the word capitalise on because it's a big loss for the state, but to try and provide.
Fill in the gap.
Yeah, we're definitely gap fillers. We've always been gaps.
Certainly the bigger courts like the Downing Centre, that sort of thing, a lot of matters were getting referred out to the community justice centres for civil disputes at early stages and that sort of thing. So now that won't be available, people will probably be looking for alternative mediation services.
Oh, thanks, Kelly. That's a good tip. So we should add the courts to our list of outreach.
And places like Legal Aid, because Legal Aid has Law Access, which is a service that does free basic legal advice. And
where they've used. Yeah, and that Matt touched on the issue that a lot of these organisations won't refer to private individuals.
no,
They're under their charters or they.
yeah. But a volunteer organization, it's like a CJC.
Actually, yeah, that's the thing.
Karen's asked a question as well. What about voluntary online mediation, please?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of what we do is intended to be online. We do some in person. We don't have rooms, so parties have to be willing to pay for rooms. So, yeah, definitely online's more than easier.
Yeah.
And it means that it doesn't matter where our team members are located.
And even just that first contact. So it's been mentioned a couple of times how you can resolve conflict, feel great through phone and media. Just talk about your thing. And that experience is excellent because with a 20, you basically as a volunteer, you go, look, I'll just be on the phone number. And if someone rings up, it always goes the 3 jobs. We are terrible. We're never there. But basically, you just go, okay, but someone rings up, I'm happy to call back. And if you ring someone back and you're able to just say, let's book in an hour, let's call it a pre-mediation, that still counts towards your 5 hours. As far as I read the stuff, it's a pre-mediation. So there's all these different components to getting your experience. And even just speaking with the call the mediator is able to bring your confidence up. And it's but it's not only about the mediation.
No, and it's not like I actually had a call today. She came in via Mediation Institute, and really about a complaint to her professional association, which was, they said, oh, there haven't been any other complaints, so they put it down. Didn't, in fact, contrarily didn't investigate it because not enough men would complain about this man, so it's obviously nothing to see here. And she's saying, I don't want any reparation, I don't want anything, I just want to improve the process for other young women in this mainly male-dominated sector. Doesn't fit anywhere else. We'll have a chat. One of the team will call her back tomorrow and do a bit of an intake, and then we might get in touch with them and say, oh, what's your complaint handling process? Just
Yeah. And even the intake's really interesting. So I've got a group of supervision mediators over here, like the lawyers, retired judges, people, things like that. And I was showing them our ICDRS intake form. So anybody that's gone anywhere near frontline has got good screening stuff, but not traditional. That group was really appreciative because the traditional sort of lawyer setting for mediation, they're not always thinking about question, in your opinion, do you think that this conflict may have anything to do with your background and culture? Things like that. So I was always really interested in that as well, Joanne, that just by being a not-for-profit, we use our time. Sure, we volunteer in our time and we talk about all sorts of things. But all those conversations that you might think, oh, that was a fascinating, wonderful half an hour. I wonder if I've ever used that. You do, because it comes up a year later when you go, that's exactly what I need. But just that community mindset around looking at mediation, not only for the commercial bit, but for the human element of it. So our forms have got those little things in there. So I like, and it's a point of difference to commercial mediation, definitely. But there's a few lawyers here. It's a very different world of mediation. I speak to counsellors. I've got a presentation in May to the Adelaide ACA chapter for counsellors here. And they're always just fascinated that facilitative mediation exists and what it is. They're like, wow, I didn't know this stuff was out there, because in any crowd, half of them put their hand up and say, yeah, I was divorced once and it was horrible. There's a lot of education that helps your own business, right? Because selling your own business, you need to learn to get in your gaddy pitch and things like that. But with ICDRS, you really get to refine the education component.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that's one thing. We never see it as a conflict of interest, your professional practice, your business, alongside the volunteering you do, because we're here to help prevent conflict, violence, and to support mediators out there doing the good work you do. Yeah, we're sorting on client capacity to pay and to engage. Oh, we're nearly out.
Yeah, I was about to say
Time
5
for-
minutes.
Yeah.
Emma's asked a question, but Matt's just answered in the thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, and further, because Emma, you've got experience, haven't you, as an FDRP? Because what I'm doing through Mediation Institute is we're putting a panel on supervising FDRPs who are willing to take on students, and I've got some sweetness, some training and PD that can assist with the amount of change we've had in the FDR sector over the last couple of years has been horrendous. Yeah, that's something that you can reach out to me. I just was waiting for the new regs to come out, which came out today. Oh, okay. Yeah, so there's some opportunities with Interact Online. We're mainly using it as a teaching school for Mediation Institute, so we haven't got capacity beyond that. It's actually a bit too slow as it is to get interns through. But we can look at, maybe we expand this further, but it would need to be with qualified AGs and perhaps a co-mediation model for FDRPs to protect and support each other. Because, yeah, it can, particularly if you're not experienced.
But could she do some of the roles with the ICDRS at all? Or website management or any of those? Or
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
I'm just looking at, I don't know what experience
Yeah.
Emma has, but yeah, she was asking that side of the question as well.
Oh, absolutely. That was one of my bit. I'm in the business of mediation, and then I'd just give me half day a week or whatever that is there. But just by being in that business, you're then exposed to opportunities and leads and panels and things you're hearing and stuff like that. Absolutely. As long as you're a qualified mediator, ICDRS welcomes everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I know that Carolyn was interested in schools, working with schools and all that. So that community program project opportunity is a good one.
Yeah.
Very
so-
much. Thank you.
That's all right.
And ICDRS can just give you a couple of friends to go and do it together with. It's a bit daunting to do it by yourself. With ICDRS, you go, okay, I want to do this. And then you'll find a person here, person there, you get on well enough, you go, and it's really nice. That's the confidence you get from others.
People forming little collaborations and alliances. And Jackie.
Hi, thanks. I have a really basic question, which is what is the best way to let you know that we're interested?
Good question.
Well, that's what Matt was going to do.
Yeah, drop your email in the chat and we'll send you out an invite to ICDRS. We meet once a fortnight all together, and we'll, if you're interested, drop your email there now and rock up to a meeting. And it's literally, righto, sleeves up. Let's go chase some fence stuff. And based on what I've been hearing is today, there's always a million things to be done. There's councils. We've got the little adverts, they're pretend adverts, right? Like you don't apply for a job and things like that, but it shows you the type of things that we need. So literally all you need to do is just drop an email in. We'll send you an invite to our next meeting and just come along and listen and just hang out, and it's cool. And start with that and then see what's there and put your hand up and say, look, I really love the schools thing. Is anyone out here in the ICDRS community want to go with me and just do one little SOC 10 conflict ticks with me? And then you use the ICDRS, we'll endorse it and we'll support you and get experienced mediators around one another. Yeah, so literally drop an email. And that's what I usually say, Joe, is turn up to the meetings. We understand everyone's, it's almost like a prerequisite. You have to have either aging parents or kids or throw jobs or, you know, because we're all great time managers, right? Or we're all the big things, but just come along, no pressure. And even if you just meet a few people, you've lost nothing. That's, I guess that's what it is. But it's been beautiful. Just, I hope it's been valuable sharing a little bit. I do feel like I've spoken way too much, but I've really enjoyed hearing the contributions from you all as well. It'd be fascinating to have each and have you all along. Very much hands up.
Sorry, Matt, there's something I'm curious about with the agreement that you actually sent me, and I read it through. Does it have to be co-mediation, or even Joanna? Doesn't matter. Does it have to be co-mediation, or because I'm actually better at solo? I don't a lot. Yeah, my life you just say no, that's what especially going on. So rather than just keeping track of one thing and then knowing when to step in, I rather do it on my own. Does it have to be co-mediation? Can it be solo?
We originally set off with co-mediation. I think some of them ones we have done, but we've got a little training for co-mediation as well, Joe. It's a good skill to have.
But ultimately, Joe, we go into the client, right? We even wrote up a little policy about, oh, okay, how do we share the mediation around equitably and fairly amongst all these things like that? But really, it's whatever the situation needs. So if that situation is going to work well with a single mediator, of course, go for it. If it's benefit with the co-mediation, we value that model.
Absolutely. And look, it may be that there's a community organisation that once a fortnight or whatever, you ask a mediator and people can just drop in and have a chat. We're not going to send someone to supervise you qualified. So, yeah, there's lots of, and a lot of that brainstorming. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kelly. That's a great idea. We're going to have to hit the courts as well. Yeah, anyone who wants to help with licking envelopes, because we'll probably send some hard copy stuff out to some of these organisations as well. And yeah, the goal is to attract in a lot more of these cases so that we can be on the landscape.
Well, some of the registries, Joanne, might even, if there was some flyers or that sort of thing, because the registry staff, like I do, I'm on one of the legal aid panels and have duty day at the Downing Centre. And registry staff, they get a range of questions. So if they can just hand a pamphlet for people looking for mediation service, just makes their life a lot easier.
Yeah, same with NCAT.
Yeah. Okay. That's great to hear. That's our job, making life easier.
Yeah. Have little cards at the end at the registry. I'm sure they'll be happy to.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a community project right there.
We've got a Canva. They've given us a free version of the advanced thing. So anyone with design skills, that's great to come in a little team.
And there's, I think, Council of Local Governments. I'll look it up. It's the main body for
Yeah.
all of the local governments.
Yeah, they would be good to approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we can offer little PD sessions for people as well. Okay, next meeting, more brainstorming.
Yeah. Incidental mediator training course for all of the councillors.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's the sort of thing that we, have a look at the conflict management first aid, which is very much into that thing. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Really good meeting, everybody.
Thank you.